The Hisense 100U7Q, if the name hasn't made it clear yet, is a 100-inch TV that falls into the brand's QLED range. At 100 inches, this TV promises a big screen display experience at home, and for the most part it delivers. Hisense wants this to be a 100-inch TV that anyone can afford, and for its asking price, it does offer some incredible value for money. The recommended retail price of this TV is 49,999 Rand, which isn't that bad if you compare apples with apples. But is the TV designed only for those who care about the size of the panel rather than how it performs? After a few weeks with it, I tend to think so. I've already done quite an in-depth unboxing and setup video of this 100-inch TV, so I won't harp on the subject here for long. In short, it isn't as difficult to set up as I thought. Unlike the 110UX Masterpiece TV that I reviewed last year, this TV is more of your standard unboxing and installation experience, and is surprisingly simple at that. You pull the box apart, remove some foam, install the legs, and the TV is ready to go. It is covered in plastic as expected, and the general installation doesn't take much time to get done. If you do want to mount this TV on your wall, of course it will be a whole different story. The Hisense 100U7Q then runs Vida. It is the simplest operating system you can get on the market in my opinion, and I've actually come to love how easy it is to use. This TV does come with a few changes compared to the previous version of Vida, however. For example, the home screen now includes a recommended for you tab, as well as a new recent tab that actually shows the actual signal from whatever source you have running on the HDMI. I thought it was quite cool. In the shot you can see how the Apple TV source is playing in the background, and I can actually control the Apple TV in the little window while I do whatever I do. Apart from that, the TV has similar options to other Hisense models released in the past few years, and you'll be familiar to these settings if you've owned one. Everything is as easy to navigate around, and calibrating the TV is quite a breeze. There are a few new settings I did spot, AI brightness burst being one of them. There's no explanation on what it does, but when I turned it on, it makes sure the TV's specular highlights are always slightly brighter in HDR content. There's also a new setting called refresh rate, which I haven't seen before. This says that when playing games at 60Hz through an HDMI device, enabling the setting will reduce input lag. I'm not entirely sure how this works and why it's needed, but the TV does lower its resolution to enable this input lag reduction. Of course, the TV does have the usual settings like AMD FreeSync Premium Pro. Like other Hisense TVs on the market, enabling it does come with the same issues that we've experienced in the past. The total backlight brightness is reduced by 20%, and the TV constantly dims itself when going in and out of a game. I always have to go and increase the backlight back to 100, or even take it down to 99 and then back up to 100 for the TV to regain its brightness. This has been an issue for about 4 years on Hisense TVs, so I'm not entirely sure why we're still dealing with it now. I hate this problem so much that I end up not even using FreeSync Premium Pro at all when I test these units, just to avoid having to always go and increase the brightness back up when the TV decides to lower it by itself for some reason. Then there's local dimming. This Hisense 100U7Q doesn't have local dimming at all, but for some reason the TV has a setting for it. It doesn't do much because whatever you try on this TV, the panel will not turn off because there are no local dimming zones to control. However, I did notice a slight change in the contrast around bright objects when I set the setting to high. So it seems the TV does try and eliminate the little bloom caused by specular highlights, even though it's not technically dimming anything because the panel is always on because there's no local dimming zones. But in terms of the settings, that's about all there is to really touch on. Whatever you need is here, and calibrating the TV is easy enough. I ended up going with the standard color mode this time around because the warm one looked a bit too yellow for me. I then tweaked the usual settings like peak brightness on high. I then sometimes disabled dynamic tone mapping because it would often overbright images and lose detail. And of course, I always disable all motion tools. When it comes to the TV's ports, I was very surprised to see that the 100U7Q includes 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, all rated at 4K 165Hz. This is the first TV I have seen on the local market with this spec, and it will make such a huge difference for those who struggle to swap between their PS5 consoles, PC, and now the Nintendo Switch 2 that also needs a high-speed bandwidth HDMI port. It means that now you can plug everything into whatever port and still use eARC without worrying about bandwidth being restricted on any of those ports. I can't tell you how happy I was to see this. The TV also comes with the usual optical port, antenna, 2 USB ports, and analog audio. There's no shortage of ports here, but all I really cared about was those 4 high-speed HDMI ports. We are finally moving into the future. To touch on the legs and the stand space, the Hisense 100U7Q is a tight fit. The TV sits a measly 4 cm off the TV stand, giving you no space for the soundbar in front of it, unless you're going to use the mobile app to control the TV and don't mind blocking the IR sensor. Then the legs are 48 cm long with 21 cm sticking out in front of the TV and 20 cm behind it. There's also 170 cm between both legs. Hisense has also made a bold move here to make the panel on the 100U7Q semi-gloss. This does make sense given the size of the TV and the fact that you're likely having more people viewing this TV from all sorts of angles. The matte finish is excellent, but it doesn't eliminate all the glows created by lamps and other lights in the room. You'll still have a distracting light on the panel, but it does beat a gloss finish. Instead of directly reflecting the light, it now blends it into the panel, so often the light spreads onto the matte display instead of directly reflecting it. So I spent the last few weeks using the TV daily. I watched new and old content, played PC, PS5 and Switch 2. The TV handled it all quite well. First off, this is an IPS panel, and as a result it comes with excellent motion handling and response time. I measured 5.6 milliseconds response time, which is fantastic for a TV this size. The IPS panel also includes a sub-pixel layout, so the text and smaller details on the display are clear. The panel also includes a quantum dot color layer to help enhance the color. Gaming was pretty good. Playing at 100 inches does have its exciting moments, but at the same time you kind of notice a bit more of the flaws than you usually do because of the size of the panel. But I can't complain. 4K 120Hz content looked good and HDR gaming was bright and vivid. A great example of this was playing Mario Kart World. The game's vibrant tracks and great use of specular highlights created a stunning experience on the TV. The same goes for PC games I tested, like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. The game's world came to life on the TV with magnificent detail. Bright games were especially gorgeous to play on this TV, and I just enjoyed walking around Pandora in the bright sun on this game. But PC is where this TV wants you to have the best experience, and it does the job. That's because the TV can hit 4K 165Hz and 1440p 288Hz. I was honestly taken back a bit by the 288Hz just because it's pretty wild to see on a TV. It makes sense why this is possible though. The IPS panel and the lack of local dimming means this TV can do whatever it wants to do in order to achieve this super high refresh rate. But to see a 100-inch TV running at 288Hz is an experience on its own. I was also impressed that it managed to maintain its full 10-bit HDR and the same peak brightness all while running at this refresh rate. I'm not sure who will end up using 288Hz on this 100-inch TV, but hey, the feature is here if you need it. The 165Hz mode also does the job, and it being at 4K, this mode makes a bit more sense. But if you're not going to blast your PC onto this TV, console gaming is just as enjoyable. Of course you'll have to live without local dimming, but if you get this TV you kind of know what you're in for. Then there's TV shows and movies. This was a mixed bag depending on the content I was watching. Dark content obviously succumbs to the lack of local dimming, which results in black levels looking a bit grey at all times. You won't get the sense of darkness at all on some content because of how this panel handles its dark scenes. But again, if you're getting this TV, you know what you're in for. I won't say the panel is bad by any means, but the lack of local dimming can often bring out some nasty uniformity issues, which can sometimes be seen across movies and content more so than when watching a TV with local dimming. That's because the local dimming can often squash the panel issues, and without local dimming here, you can often see smudges of color here and there. But everything I threw at this TV looked good and at times great. I did have to often tweak the picture settings on a case-by-case basis to get certain movies to shine a bit more, but I'm a bit OCD when it comes to the perfect TV settings. Sports is where this TV also shines. Due to its excellent motion handling and IPS panel, if you're a sports fan, you're gonna love this TV. Granted, you'll have to make sure the TV knows you're watching sports and tweaks the motion for you, or you can manually do it yourself. But when set up properly with the right motion settings, this TV looks pretty excellent. In terms of the nits, this Hisense 100U7Q can get relatively bright. In a 10% window, I measured 800 nits, which is quite close to the brand's promised 1000 nits. While 800 nits doesn't sound like a lot, you have to take into account that this is a 100-inch TV, and that on its own is a lot. This means you're looking at a typical brightness of 450 nits across all content. Again, this isn't remotely bright compared to other TVs on the market, and obviously smaller TVs, but I don't think Hisense wants this to be the brightest, most expensive TV they have. When you're looking at the viewing angle, this TV does have some decent performance here. The 100-inch panel and the semi-gloss finish and the large screen means it can be viewed from a larger angle than usual at 30 degrees. Usually TVs lose image quality at around 20 degrees, so this is quite a big difference. Lastly, the speakers are okay. If you're going to stick with them, they are loud and clear. The subwoofer is punchy enough, but the entire system isn't remotely deep and powerful enough to provide any kick to music and content. You'll want to get a sound system here, maybe even the Hisense HT Saturn. I don't know, I'm busy reviewing that sound system now and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'll have that review up pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. But this is the general experience across the entire 100U7Q. The TV is good, but not the best on the market. It doesn't really excel in any features, but it delivers it all pretty well. I think this is exactly what Hisense wanted. They wanted to make an accessible large format TV that has some high-end modern features without cramming it full of the stuff that bloats up the price tag. For that, I can respect this product. So those are my thoughts on the 100U7Q. Are you looking to pick this TV up and have any questions? Let me know in the comments down below. I also have the Hisense HT Saturn review coming up in the next few days, so stick around for that. You'll be surprised at how fantastic the sound system is. While you're here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and make sure that you keep your eyes peeled on the channel for more Hisense TV content coming up as we tackle the new 2025 range releasing very soon. Until next time, farewell.